24/7 Laredo Talk Show is an independent and original news channel dedicated to local topics relating to everyday issues that affect Laredo, Webb County, and surrounding areas. Any comments made by guests are not a reflection of the views and opinions of the 24/7 Laredo team. However, we intend to offer a community program with wide-ranging views and opinions that reflect our community's people. No abusive or obscene comments toward any class of people or persons will be tolerated. We believe that an informed community is the way to move Laredo and Webb County forward. 24/7 Laredo Talk Show is open to any candidate running for office or any person who strongly believes in any issue that helps our community stay informed. If you would like to advertise on the show, you can email us at bordertown2020@gmail.com.
Good morning, Laredo. Thank you for joining us for another episode of 24/7 Laredo Talk Show. I'm your host, Jesus Chugaza. It is an original, free, and independent news channel talk about issues affecting Laredo. And we're pretty fortunate to have our former mayor, Betty Flores, here to talk to us a little bit about her race for city council. We've known, of course, our mayor to been in office for over close to 10 years in the past. But I think the newer generation may not know of you yet, Mayor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chewy. Good to be here. Well, I was, yeah, thank you. I was mayor for from 1998 to 2006. And before that, I was a banker for 29 years. And so it was good for me at the time to bring all my banking experience and my business perspective to city council. And it worked really well because there were times that I was frustrated because in business, you just see something you've got to do and you do it. And in government, you've got to take time. And so, you know, you've got to.
It's different in government. It's just the way it is. It's not about money. It's all about time is not of the essence. It
right.
Sort of just goes on in its proper time period.
It's the process. You have to understand.
Now,
and so, yeah, I was very fortunate that
you were able to transition Laredo from a sleepy town, so to speak. You worked with Mayor Saul Ramirez, who was the mayor right before, for a few years before. And there were a lot of changes that occurred before, because before that, Laredo was a sleepy town. It really was. And it wasn't until certain things happened, and that is when the mall increased, when the new bridges were brought in, which I'm going to give you a chance in a few minutes to explain to us. But you were definitely on top of the changes, the transition for what we have now as Laredo. People don't understand that Laredo Mines Road was just an onion and watermelon field. I mean, it really was. And then you came in, of course, things changed after that. Now, before I go into that, Mayor, can you tell us a little bit about your district? What area is covered?
It's a huge district. The map is right behind me.
Right.
It goes I-35 all the way, and it skips, you know, it skips over to Chicago Street, to Anna Street, and all the way to the river. And then it skips back and it goes to Belmont and all of that area that is behind Clark Elementary. And then it goes on to 35. It skips over to Del Mar, a little chunk of Del Mar, and some neighborhoods around Antonia, all the way to International. And then it goes all the way to the Mines Road and Green Acres. It's amazing. It's
very diverse, definitely very, very diverse, especially when you got Del Mar on the west side, and then, of course, the Mines Road, totally different areas with slightly different.
But it has some of the oldest and some of the newest neighborhoods, and it also has a lot of commercial. And that's what's exciting about that district.
Well, Mayor, now you, I guess, like I mentioned to you earlier, not everyone knows who you are. We know you because you've been involved in government and also in the cultural happenings in Laredo for many, many years. But the younger generation may not know. As you know, the Mines Road area, the average age is about 32 years old. They probably were not around when you made a lot of changes during government time. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Of course, I was mayor between 1998 and 2006, but before that, I was a banker. And I was a banker for 29 years. And during the time that I was at the Laredo National Bank, which is a very exciting time, I was able to participate in community reinvestment and marketing. And all we did was promote the children of Laredo and all that was good of Laredo. We were the ones that had Viva Laredo, Mejorando Laredo. You know, we started all that because we believed in Laredo, and it helped the bank because people wanted to be part of that. And so I've always thought, you know, you always have to be optimistic about the things you have. And we participated with a lot of Hooked on Books, you know, children events, at-risk children. We did drivers against mothers against drunk driving. We did a lot of wonderful events, especially devoted a lot of time in developing low-income housing or affordable housing for people.
Exactly.
And that was a big thing. And I know you helped during that time. And it's just something that is very, very gratifying.
And that was before you became mayor even. So you
Yes.
were pretty much involved with the community for 10, 20 years before that, well, at least 10 years before. And then you ended up deciding to think of running for mayor. Why did you decide to run for mayor?
Well, I had just retired from the bank, and I had all these contacts, federal and state contacts, because I was the one that represented the bank in a lot of the political issues. And so I had all the contacts in Washington, had all the contacts at the state government. And so then I retired and I went home and I started working on a project in the Azteca neighborhood, the very first housing development in the Azteca neighborhood on Water Street. Affordable housing, wonderful, beautiful.
I still think that property is one of the best in Laredo because it's overseeing the Rio Grande. It really
It's
is very
wonderful. And one of those apartments on the corner that you can see the turn of the river. I mean, you go to any other city, you'd be paying, you know, $30,000 a month for that kind of an apartment. Anyway, it's a beautiful place, and I'm very proud of it. But you know, we did all that, and so I had all this information. I went home and I started seeing all the people that were running for Saul's unexpired term because
Saul
he left.
Ramirez, who was the mayor before you, right?
That's right, Saul Ramirez. And so I saw all these people that were running. It was a previous city council member. It was the previous city attorney. It was, you know, all these other people. And I thought, no, we just passed NAFTA. We need to continue to bring infrastructure to Laredo because all of this is going to hurt our community on the Mines Road. And we need to develop that Mines Road the right way. And we need all this money to help infrastructure because we cannot carry NAFTA on the backs of our citizens.
Well, Mayor, I mean, during that period of time, NAFTA was just coming into play. And you suddenly started seeing all those trucks developing from the bridge all the way to the Mall del Norte of traffic getting behind schedule. I mean, for processing. So during that period of time, you've decided to run for mayor, more or less?
Absolutely. Actually, all the traffic was not only to the Mines Road, it extended far beyond to the old checkpoint. And it was terrible. The trucks were lying back to back. And so the traffic wasn't moving. So commercial, the businesses were suffering. The people were suffering. And as you stated, and you know, there was even some deaths on the highway, some very young people that lost their lives. Right. Just awful things that, you know, I said, this has to change. And so the only thing I promised the people of Laredo was to build that bridge. And I knew I had the contacts and I had the financial expertise to put together a package that both the state of Texas and New York City would okay. And we did. The state of Texas
and that
gave us
became the
first.
Columbia Bridge.
Yes. No. This was the World Trade Bridge.
World Trade Bridge, excuse me, yes.
Yes. The state of Texas gave us the first infrastructure bank loan for $36 million. And then New York, having seen that, also gave us another $36 million. And we were able to get very good terms and we paid it off very quickly. But it was, that the financing that we had to put together was because I was able to work with the state of Texas and I was able to work with Washington, D.C. It was wonderful to have those contacts. And so that's why I decided to run, because I knew I had those contacts and I needed them. And I said, I got to give this to the community.
Well, it was a very successful 10-year run, Mayor. I mean, there was a lot of good things that happened. You were able to do the transition to bring Laredo up to the 21st century, or at least start creating the basis for a good run. And so then you finished. Then we didn't see you for a while, but you could actually, but you were still involved. What happened, Mayor?
Well, when I left, I was 2 months after I left. I got on the board of the Farm Credit Bank of Texas. It's it is the largest bank that lends rurally in the state of Texas. And, but it also encompasses the state of the 4 other states that circle Texas: Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and New Mexico. And so anyway, so I was there for 12 years and we did some great work in putting food on the table, financing people that work to put food on the table. And it was amazing. And then I also was on the board for Mercy Ministries of Laredo, that everybody knows is just wonderful and does so many things to help Laredoans and those needy people, to bring health services. I was also on the board of TMF, that's a health institute that monitors Medicaid payments. And then I joined Laredo Main Street, which is kind of a circle for me, because when I was mayor, we started Laredo Main Street. So
you were actually doing all this even when you were not a mayor with the bank. So
and I started Jambusi. Well, I didn't start it. Yeah. The group started it. So I mean, you can imagine how
you did full circle, and then mayor. Then when you did that, then. Welcome back to the show, Mayor. We were just talking about how you transitioned from a retirement life to mayor, then retirement life, and now you're coming back again running for city council. What was that about? How did you get there to run for city council?
Well, when I heard that Mr. Allgate was not running any longer, I was really worried for that district because, as I said, it's very diverse. It's very important. We have some of the oldest and some of the newest neighborhoods in Laredo, and it's a great tax revenue for the city of Laredo with the World Trade Bridge and all those commercial, the warehouses, you know, millions and millions of square feet of warehouses. And so it's important to me that we have experienced leadership to continue the growth of the district the right way, especially during these crucial times. And I thought with all due modesty, I think I can be pretty effective. And I have always worked hard for the right reasons.
You were effective as a mayor, so certainly
Well,
that's always.
you put into perspective, Chewy, my contribution to this city and to this community that I will represent. And you understand how hard I work and what my commitment is all about.
Mayor, you've already shown some definitely some commitment to community service for many years. One of them was the fact that you were able to achieve to get that presidential permit built, or that bridge to get built. And you were able to move the traffic out of Highway 35 and onto Highway 30, away from Highway 35 in downtown and onto Mines Road and other areas. So transitioning out to that issue, what do you recommend when it comes to the traffic in the Mines Road? What is the future for the Mines Road?
The future for the Mines Road looks really good. We have a lot of funding already available, but unfortunately, because of some legal issues that happened, the construction was delayed. But, you know, the people that have the commercial developments out there, they have a vision and they have presented it to council, and council has liked it. And so there is going to be a direct connect to I-35. The Rutherford Road is going to be expanded. We are going to manage that traffic. And eventually there will be a river road because, you know, activity keeps crime away. And right now we have no activity on the river because there is no road in many places. And so I think that the future of the Mines Road area and the future of the Chicago area, the future of Belmont, all of these areas, I think looks very, very good. District 7 is really going places because it provides so much to the entire community.
Well, Mayor, it seems that you seem to have a plan for the future of that particular district, but there's still a few issues that are out there that are not only affecting the Mines Road, but also the Heights area and South Laredo. And one of them is the issue, again, we keep coming back to some very simple, basic issues, the water bill, which to some people is still very upsetting for some because it keeps going up. And it's tied in, there's an ordinance tied into the bonds that were actually, that were financed through bonds. And my question is, would you consider looking at that issue again, or is that an issue that's already been discussed and we need to just move on to something else?
Well, you know, I think you said it right. I think it's a huge issue and we do need to move on, but it's important. And that's where we have to have communication. It's important for us to tell the people that a lot of the problems that we were having with the water is because of the very old infrastructure that we have in so many areas. People tell me all the time, my water smells like chlorine. Well, guess what? We had to flush it. And especially when we have rains and people say, oh, I'm not going to water, and we don't use the same amount of water. I mean, there's a lot of technicalities in today's clean water that we have to look at. And for some reason, I think during the many, many years, we let our infrastructure go old. I mean, think about it. I lived on Clark Boulevard. I lived on Meadow Avenue in South Laredo. And all of those districts have very, very, very old infrastructure. And you know, in Clark Boulevard, I moved there when Clark Street ended up at the hill. And so you can imagine how old that street is. And so some of
that that they definitely need to be financed. You got to improve the water system. That's just the way it is. However, I'm wondering whether or not the senior citizens can be given some type of a tiered program where they will pay a little bit less than the rest of the folks. But that's something that I'm not a councilman, so I don't know exactly how that's worked out. But I mean, when you think about the fact that they had to cut down our water source about a year ago or 6-8 months ago, is it going to happen again? Is that the future Laredo water that we're going to have to deal with this issue again? Or is that going to be resolved through this new funding?
I think little by little it's going to be resolved. But again, there has to be that new infrastructure has to be put in. And we have to keep flushing and we have to keep doing the right things, because otherwise we won't have the safe water that we want to have. And, I drink faucet water all the time. And so it's important that we do that for everybody. And like you mentioned, the older people and the people on a fixed income, Laredo can help. There is always ways. And right now they have that program where people can get access to the federal program and qualify.
Right.
So that they get monies, $125, I think, a month, so that they can help them with their water bill.
Yes, well, I definitely support that, and I hope that the last time what happened was that the water boil happened, and we were not prepared. It was just badly handled by the city of Laredo. They just did not realize that there's a process in place on how to handle situations like this. So you had all these politicians and city council come forward, when in reality, it was a fire chief who was in charge. And he was either given the opportunity to talk to the public, and then there was no water for seniors in certain areas of town for a couple of days, and there was no free bottled waters for them, at least for some of them. So it was badly handled, at least when it comes to the perception of being prepared. It just badly handled. Hopefully next time around it'll be handled better. On another issue, Mayor, the issue dealing with the signs. Recently, the Defund the Wall group came and were able to get the city to allow them to place a Defund the Wall signage in front of the federal courthouse, which for the most part, many people do support defunding, of course, the wall. However, the question was whether or not it was appropriate to be able to allow one particular group to put this. Now, there's other people talking about possibly getting some money together to put some other type of language or First Amendment issues on other streets. Would you support, I believe that's what I think the City Hall is doing, is would you support an ordinance of some type that would limit or at least create parameters on what issues can be painted on a wall, I mean, on a street, or whether or not those issues should never be an issue, and those issues should not be placed on the streets in the future?
Well, I think you have to be careful, because you don't ever want to stifle people's first right.
First Amendment right.
Exactly, First Amendment right. And people, there's always going to be 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides, because that's who we are. We are very diverse people, and that's okay. And when you say diversity and you say we are diverse and we don't mind, that means that you have to have inclusion. If you don't include, then you're not really diverse. You are being segregated. So consequently, we have to be inclusive to everybody. I personally don't like the word defund, because I associate it with those people that want to defund the police department. And that's a terrible thing. Terrible. I do not agree with that. Get rid of the bad people, but keep the good people and fund them adequately so they can do their job. I remember my brother was in DEA for 35 years, and I remember when they kept cutting his budgets, and he would tell me, man, I have to go and buy my own this, my own that, my own the other for my agents so they can be safe. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's disgusting to me that we don't support that. So there's a lot of issues with those signs.
Right. And it just seems to me, Mayor, that I totally agree with you that we should have an inclusion policy whereby if a person wants to paint a wall or a floor or whatever, or street, so long as we're fair across the board, um, and so long as we understand there are some limitations of what we can write, and so long as we understand we're not going to pay for it, they're going to have to pay for it, and that
Yeah.
maybe there should be a zone of free amendment, right, where you can paint all the floors that you want, all the streets that you want, but it should be limited to a particular area of town that everyone's in agreement. I don't know, it's just something to look at, but the idea of just having only one group be able to put something and not allow other people to come in, that also defeats the purpose of the First Amendment. So we certainly need to create an ordinance of some type where we can include everyone and create a certain type of rules, certain zones, things like that. So that way everything is fair and everyone gets a chance to participate.
You know what? I went to a city the other day that was working on bettering their downtown. And what they did was they put up just pieces of boards in front of their buildings. And each board represented a different a time in our life, a different picture, a different movie, a different this. And they weren't cardboard, they were hard woods, plywoods, but there were beautiful paintings. And you walked in and you thought like you were in Hollywood, or all of a sudden you were somewhere else and somewhere else. You know, we have a lot of artistic and creative people in Laredo. We just need
the arts.
to let
I
them.
would not like to see support the arts on the street.
Yes, yes.
Well, who knows? Maybe we can do it in the Central Park area, Central Park Mall. I mean, Central Park over here on the north side. Mayor, I got only maybe another minute or two left. I do want to ask you real quick. The issue of the pandemic has created it's a big issue. Our lives are configured. We all live our lives through this fear to some degree of the pandemic, rightly or wrongly. But certainly it is happening. It is very serious. How are you going to handle campaigning, or how is everyone going to handle the campaigning during the pandemic to begin with?
Well, I think most of us are doing a lot of virtual. I personally am going to walk and maybe put door hangers, but stay on the street and put up signs and make a lot of phone calls. But the issue too is sometimes people do not participate and they do not care what is going on, because they feel that it does not affect them or their families or their lives. That is a privileged way to feel. But right now, we cannot do that. That this is not the time. It's not the time not to listen. It's not the time not to participate, because we are all at risk. And many people are experiencing a lot of pain. I have to think about how to keep our chill, you know, how to have fun, how to enjoy the natural things that are around us. Making an impact does not have to be a grand gesture. Kindness goes a long way. There are a lot of lessons, I think, that we are learning, and I'm hoping that when we come out of this, that we use those lessons for the benefit of others. I know there are young people developing a lot of sites to help others, and they're free apps. There's Give Essential, there's Anxiety Helper, there's Verena for people that are dealing with bullying, crimes, and just hate issues. And then there's one, Isolated, Not Alone, for those suffering from the loss of loved ones. So I think out of this, a lot of the young people in our future, they're helping us, and they will help us, and they're participating, Chewy. And us as adults, we need to participate as well and hope that people come out to vote.
That's right. I remind everyone, Mayor, I want to thank you. We run out of time. I want to thank you for your time today. I look forward to seeing you the next 30, 60 days. And I'm sure we would have fixed all our Zoom issues by then, and we'll make things a lot easier interviews after this. But I want to thank you for your time. And I would suggest to everyone to please follow the mayor's hopes in terms of making sure they follow instructions to stay at home and learn from this experience, because something good's going to come out of it at the very end. I'm convinced that something great's going to happen out of it. Meantime, we just have to deal with it, hunker down, and follow through with all the mitigation efforts. Thank you, Mayor. I look forward to seeing you next time around. And I want to thank you, the public, for taking 20, 30 minutes of your time to listen to the Mayor and myself. Until next time, I'm Jesus Garza, your host, wishing you a very good day. Thank you.